Okay, so we're here with Matthias at the Reason Studio stand. Yeah, what have you got to show this year, Matthias?
Well, we're actually launching a new synthesizer today, literally first day available, called Objekt Modeling Synthesizer. The basic idea of it is first to make really realistic sounding sounds, both instruments that exist or instruments that don't. So here's a quick example. But it also does very convincing emulations of stuff, for example, this acoustic bass. But we wanted to make sure that we made a physical modeling synthesizer that really went beyond just emulating stuff. We wanted to give you access to every parameter that's in there to make sounds that sound real, but not necessarily something you know. Here's an example that started from a Kodo patch, but we wanted to see where we could take it. Or for example, this pad that's quite synthetic but still has this acoustic character of little chirps. So really we wanted to make something that could make exciting sounds that you haven't heard before.
Superb. And what's the kind of engine behind it? What's
so the
kind
basics
of behind the scenes?
Of this, it's a physical modeling synth, but we went quite far with it. So at the core of it is 3 resonators. You have a simple modal resonator and 2 that we call objects that are more waveguide-like. In its simplest form, with just 1 frequency, it sounds just like a string. And then we have parameters for how it behaves when you play it. So for example, collision is akin to hi-hat lids or a string that hits the fretboard. The harder I play, the more it bounces back.
That's cool.
And you also have stuff like when you play a string on a guitar, if you play it really hard, it kind of bends the string and it changes the pitch. That's what pitch mod is. And you can go really far with this until it almost mutes itself. Dispersion's the trickiest one to explain, but in real materials, frequencies travel at different speeds. Lower frequencies travel slower and become lower. So dispersion basically does that. It brings down the pitch of the low frequencies. To get these more atonal sounds.
That's amazing.
And then you also have damping that affects how it rings out. So if you want a lot of high frequencies or want it to be more muted, for example.
Excellent.
But the core of the engine is all these frequencies that interact. You have 1 stage now, but you can have as many as you want. Set them to different frequencies, akin to FM synthesis. To create pretty much any style of sound you want. But if you don't want to go that deep right away, we also have some templates. If you want to start with something like a skin, we have one that sets you up for success right away.
Brilliant.
So that's the first part of it. The other important part with physical modeling synth is that these resonators are just kind of the instrument, the string, the body. It doesn't actually make a sound until you hit it with something. And that's the exciter section over here. The simplest part is the impact, which is just a small hit. You can change the frequency, clickiness, hardness. But we wanted to make a synth where you could go beyond. So you can excite this with anything. Let's try some static noise using this ADSR envelope.
That
Maybe
sounds great.
low-pass noise is great for making pads. And it can go super loud, like this is all based on feedback, so anything can happen really, and that's the part of the fun. But since we're in Reason, of course, you can plug in anything. You can just use your voice, you can beatbox into the microphone, you can tap your microphone, hit the table, and play the instruments that way.
Wow.
So the basics of Objekt is we really wanted to make a synth that took physical modeling and put it in the hands of the user, rather than making too many choices for them.
Yeah.
And the result is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, the features that you've added, each of them really has a lot of character in the tone.
Yeah.
It's not like a small, mild change. You've got some real depth here.
Yeah, we wanted to make it deep. There's a funny story about how it was made. I'm the product manager, so what I do is kind of figure out what we need to do and what it should achieve. And then we have the guy who actually does the DSP. I give him a mission. And he came back with the first model, and he said, I think I've made the best algorithm. Listen to this sound. and it was a timpani, and I was really nervous. Like, hang on, it needs to be playable sounds. Like, no. Then he explained, like, if we can make a timpani, like a skin, that's really hard to do. If we can do that well, and I think we can, then we can do pretty much any sound. So this was the first ever Objekt patch. But the very fun thing with this is we wanted to also give people a way to just experiment. So if I take a patch like the one you heard before, and I just want some variation, we added a randomizer here.
Oh, nice.
In the randomizer, you can choose which of these resonators you randomize. If you hit it, you have a percentage. If I set it quite low, 25% maybe, every time I hit randomize, I get a new sound that's related to this first sound. And I can basically do this forever.
Yeah.
And when I'm happy with something, I just click OK. And if I want to make sure it's in tune again, I just hit Analyze and Fix. And now we're back.
And that randomize feature, you had a percentage of how far you want to go from the
So if I want to go from nothing to what the fuck ever, I can hit randomize and do 100% and just click the randomize button until I found a really weird sound. Really, it can be anything. So it's great for just finding a weird starting point that you want to make something out of.
Brilliant.
We also have quite an advanced mod matrix that has a lot of cool stuff, and I'll show you that with a percussion patch.
Sure.
So we made some skin percussion, and we wanted to make them fun to play. So we're using stuff like the key in octave to change the synthesis parameters. So depending if I hit the low C or if I go higher, changes the character. You can get this natural playing. And you can also set the black key to affect something. So every time I play a black key, in this case, it increases the low damping, making it brighter and shorter. So you can play in a very natural way. And if you don't want to go into the mod matrix and do this, but you still want a conga sound, then just randomize this conga sound. Set it to 20% or something. And get infinite congas.
Nice. So you're also randomizing the different areas of the object.
So
as
randomizes the resonator, but all the stuff in the mod matrix are still there. So if you find a patch that has some really cool route things and you just want to steal those, you can just randomize the resonators and reuse this. So it's really, really fun to experiment with.
Brilliant.
And that's, I think, if I were to summarize it, the ethos of Objekt is make a physical modeling synthesizer that can sound realistic and do real instruments, but that is built for experimentation. That is built for people who want to go in, tinker around, see what happens. Because you end up in places. Half of the patches we've done has just been us internally kind of going, what happens if I take this string sound and tweak it and you... I got this sound that isn't really, it's not an instrument you know, but it sounds like it could be.
It it sounds like a steel drum as well as a guitar together.
You get these in-between things that a sample library could never do because we don't have those instruments. So why not build them?
Great. Well, it sounds fantastic, man.
That's
it
good
sounds
to hear, man.
really good. Love it. Really love it.
Yeah.
When's it available? Is it out now? How much
available
is it?
now. We were up late midnight in the hostel, clicking the release buttons. It's available to purchase if you have a Reason license. It's at an introductory offer right now. And it's also included in the Reason Plus subscription. So everyone who's on the subscription or gets on the subscription gets this and all of our other 80 plus devices. And you can run them standalone in the Reason DAW, or you can run the entire Reason rack as a plugin, VST3, AU, AAX, in any host. So our demo computer over there, for example, uses Objekt in Ableton Live. So for people who are comfortable with that, just load it up there.
Great. Well, thank you so much for showing us, Matthias.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you.